Evan, a 15-year-old boy living in Colorado for the past 3 years, was on a school trip and couldn't stop thinking about how beautiful the Rocky Mountains might look up close. Despite living nearby, he had never visited them. This trip was finally going to make his wish come true. After spending the entire day eating from their lunchboxes and playing games on the bus, they were about to reach a mountain town near Aspen when something strange happened. The bus, perfectly fine minutes ago, suddenly started smoking. It was already late at night. Since the students were with them, the teachers decided to stop at a nearby mountain lodge, call a mechanic in the morning, and continue their trip from there. The lodge was surrounded by huge pine trees and steep mountain cliffs. All students were divided into different rooms. After dinner, everyone went to sleep. Evan shared a room with his close friends Adam and Ryan, and he was happy because they were his best buddy. When they entered their room, they could see a lake deep inside the forest from the window. They remembered how, on their last school trip, 2 students had sneaked out at night to visit a lake and take pictures. So, as soon as the lodge guard fell asleep, all 3 of them quietly slipped out. The lake didn't seem too far, but they walked for nearly half an hour and still had outreached it. The forest path felt never-ending. The cold had grown unbearable, and the silence of the woods made them even more uneasy. They checked their phones, no signal, realizing this was a bad idea. They decided to cancel their plan and return. Using their phone flashlights, Evan and Adam walked ahead, while Ryan trailed slightly behind when Evan and Adam turned around. Ryan was gone. Just then, they heard footsteps rustling somewhere nearby. Terrified but unwilling to abandon Ryan, they followed the sound deeper and deeper into the quiet forest. They tracked the footsteps until they suddenly stopped. There was no sign of Ryan. Fear began sinking in. Then they heard a faint scraping sound, like someone digging the earth. Cautiously, they approached the sound and saw Ryan through the bushes, digging a hole in the ground. Horrified, they called out to him. Brian turned around slowly. His eyes were pitch black, completely hollow, as if someone had scooped the life out of them. Adam moved toward Ryan, placed a hand on his shoulder, and asked what was wrong. Brian screamed at him and shoved him violently. Adam was thrown back several feet. Ryan's body shook uncontrollably, like he was having a seizure. Then he collapsed. Tevin tried to help him regain consciousness. As soon as Ryan opened his eyes, he looked at Adam and screamed, "It's inside him!" Evan turned and saw Adam sitting on the ground with his head lowered. Davin slowly raised his head. His eyes were now completely black, too. Before Evan or Ryan could react, Adam, who had been hurt moments ago, stood up and sprinted into the forest. Davin and Ryan chased after him and saw, by their flashlight beam, that Adam was running toward an old abandoned house. Up close, it looked like a decaying cabin that hadn't been touched for decades. Terrified but desperate to save their friend, they stepped inside. From the second floor, they heard a voice. When they reached the room, what they saw stunned them. Adam was unconscious. Floating in mid-air and standing in front of him was an old woman, face twisted, skin sagging, hair long and white, speaking to him in a raspy voice. Her eyes were completely black. The moment she saw Evan and Ryan, she dropped down on all fours and started crawling toward them like some kind of insect panicking. They ran down the stairs and out of the house. The old woman crawled down after them at an unnatural speed. They sprinted through the forest in terror. Until, without realizing how, they ended up at the very lake they had been searching for. They slipped on the wet ground and fell into the icy water. Something in the lake began pulling them down. Evan somehow managed to climb out, but he watched helplessly as Ryan sank into the darkness below. Panicked, Evan fainted on the lake shore. When Evan woke up the next morning, he was back in the lodge room. Shaken, he ran outside and saw police everywhere. Under white sheets on the ground were the bodies of Adam and Ryan. The police called it a murder. But the locals told another story. Years ago, an old woman lived alone in that forest cabin. She preferred her solitude, but some greedy men from a nearby town tried to take her land. They tortured her, killed her, and threw her body into the lake. Since then, no one goes near that forest or the lake. At night, they say her spirit still roams those woods, seeking revenge. If only the 3 boys had known. maybe Adam and Ryan would still be alive.